Thanks very much. You may not know this, but many years ago, in a poll done amongst Japanese women, he was voted as one of the most desirable husbands in the world. In fact, the most desirable husband. Since then, he's earned the moniker of Lay Cost Killer. And maybe in India, we should rename him as Lay Alliance Maker, because that's what he's been really good at for the last 4 to 5 years in his engagement with India. Carlos Ghosn, thank you so much for being on CNBC today. You must be really relieved. 4 or 5 years of an engagement with India. Frequent trips, numerous press conferences, 3 alliances, one a little shaky right now, 1 car that didn't do as well as you expected it to. Finally, you have a plan to show for all the effort that you've put into India. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. It is correct. But India is a very sophisticated market, particularly for car manufacturers who have been exposed to many markets in the world. We recognize instantly the fact that India needs a lot of patience, a lot of analysis, a lot of learning, accepting from time to time that you're going to make 1 step back in order to make 3 steps forward. But now we think, after these years and with the arrival of this plan, that we have a very strong product plan, that we have products which are going to be localized, which means very competitive, and we're going to be using our network in India not only to compete on the Indian market, but also to use India as an export base for Europe, for the Middle East, and for Africa.
You've projected that you expect the local car market in India to actually increase from roughly about 2 million in sales right now to 10 million over the course of the next 10 years. This plant capacity goes up from 200,000 in 2012 to maybe 400,000 in 2015. You were also quoted at the press conference yesterday to say that in the rise in consumption of cars in India, you would expect Nissan and Renault to play or have its fair share of the new capacity that will be added. This plant is the beginning. What is that fair share? Can you give me a sense of over the next 10 years, what is your positioning?
First, this forecast of 6 million cars, 6 million cars in India in 10 years down the road, which means multiplying by 3 the present level of sales. Today the trend is about 2.2 million cars. We think it's going to go to 6 million cars 10 years down the road. This is coming from the World Economic Forum that took place in New Delhi, where we had a lot of discussion with Indian car manufacturers, authorities, suppliers, global car manufacturers, and we came to the fact that today India is under-equipped, and there is absolutely no reason that this level of equipment doesn't come back to a normal, average, small European country within the next 10 years. This is where the 6 million cars come from as the first step.
Now, but it's a number that you agree with, roughly speaking.
I agree. I agree with one. I think it's a very reasonable number. Sure. Now, it's not going to be linear, but I think 10 years down the road, we're going to be multiplying by 3 the number of cars sold. Now, what is our fair share? It's very simple. Today, Renault Nissan is the 4th largest car manufacturing group in the world, representing more than 6.1 million cars sold 2009. This is about 10% of global market share. Well, what's our fair share in India? Is our average global market share, which is 10%. Today, we have less than 1% market share between Renault and Nissan. So we think we have a tremendous opportunity to come to our average normal global market share. That's what we're having in China, in Japan, in the United States, in Europe, and there is no reason that with the appropriate product and with our manufacturing system we cannot reproduce the same performance here.
But that's a substantial ramping up of capacity in India.
It is. The first step is, you've seen it today with the Chennai plant, which is a 400,000 capacity.
Right.
But obviously if we go to 6 million cars, and we want 10% of this market, it means more capacity to come in the future.
Oh, not just more, lots more. So, I mean, that's something that you have to work backwards for the next 10 years. Are you already in plans to work on that?
No, I think the first step is to have a successful launch of this plant with the first 3 cars that are going to be launching for the next 2 years. Try to build our marketing and sales network, try to establish the name of the brand. Still, our brand is not very well known, both from the Nissan side and from the Renault side. So there are some basic works to be done for the next 3 years. But what I want to tell you that we didn't come in India to be a niche player. We want to be a global car manufacturer, being able to offer cars from the A segment to the B segment to the C segment, moving up.
I'm glad you've articulated that strategy, because the next question that I'm going to ask you has been asked to you or put to you at least 1 million times. I'm going to be the 1,000,001st person to ask you this question. But I don't get your strategy in India, very, very honestly. And the reason why I'm saying that is you attempted to sell a sedan in partnership with a company that actually mostly manufactures passenger utility vehicles. You're attempting to build an ultra low-cost car, a sub 2 lakh rupee car in the Indian market with a company that mostly only manufactures two-wheelers. Last evening, in your press conference, you announced the potential or the possibility of actually building another small car with a company that manufactures only trucks. Now, you know, when I think of it, for instance, Bajaj, it's a great brand, it has great distribution, it understands the Indian consumer mindset. Instead, in your partnership with Bajaj, you who are really good at making cars are asking Bajaj to make a car, and they who are really good at distributing in India and understand the Indian consumer mindset are asking you to market it. Explain to me, please.
Yeah, well, you know, it depends on what you're looking for. We're not looking for a partner who is expert in doing cars because we think we have this expertise. We have all the technologies, we have all the know-hows, we have all the processes, we have experimented them practically all over the world. As you know, we are present both in developed countries and in developing countries. We have huge, massive presence in China. And in fact, a lot of the benchmark for the plant here in Chennai has been taken from our plant in China. So we're not looking for this. What we are looking for are people who understand and are capable to help us build a very frugal product and define a very frugal product based on their knowledge of the Indian market. And second, being able to establish and deliver a very frugal engineering, a very frugal manufacturing. You know, why? Because we lost this frugality. That means when you have engineers coming from Japan or coming from France, you know, frugality is not part of their mindset. While the frugality of the engineers in India is something which is obvious. What is frugality? That means you do the product with the basic specifications that are needed, nothing more. You do it with the basic investments needed, nothing more. You do it with the basic processes needed, nothing more. This frugality is something which is very important. Very important to be successful in India, but very important also to be embedded into our own processes. I'm talking about Renault and Nissan, because this frugality is important for India, but it's also important for many other emerging markets in the world. Because what can be successful in India, there is no reason that it's not going to be successful in Russia, it's not going to be successful in Indonesia, it's not going to be successful in Nigeria, or in some countries in South America. And what we want is learn with some of our partners, not only one of them, but many of them, you know, and this frugal way of doing things, how to define products of a very low cost with very basic functionalities in order to obviously be able to compete in India, but also to be able to reproduce something not identical but similar in other emerging.